Oh no, we're in trouble. The air's all gone. I'm sure everyone here has heard of mobile tire repair, but only a few friends who drive big vehicles probably know what the process actually looks like. As for mobile tire repair in Vietnam, I bet even fewer of you have ever seen that. In today's video, let's take a look at how mobile tire repair is actually done in real life in Vietnam, and then see just how different it is from the way we do tire repairs in our own country. Alright, everyone, here we go. The shop in this video is a professional roadside assistance and mobile tire repair shop. Shops like this are also very common in our country. For example, you can see them wherever there are a lot of freight vehicles, in towns where people live, and even in the suburbs of cities, it's nothing unusual. Of course, this is not the same as tire repair and rescue services on the highway. Sometimes, the latter can be really dodgy. Earlier today, we got a call for help from over 100 kilometers away, a double-axle truck with 4 wheels in the front and 8 at the back, which is actually the one you saw at the start of the video. Its front tire blew out again, so now we have to bring a replacement tire, get on the rescue vehicle, and head over to where the truck broke down to change the tire. There's really no need for us to watch the whole 100-kilometer drive. Anyway, the road conditions here in Vietnam look pretty manageable. In the blink of an eye, we've already covered the 100 kilometers. Some of you might say, Tianxia, you finished that 100 kilometers way too fast. Well, I can't really make everyone sit through 100 kilometers of driving, right? That would be a bit too much, wouldn't it? Alright, let's take a look at what's really going on with this car. From the outside, this tire doesn't seem to have any obvious signs of a blowout. Not sure why, but anyway, it's definitely flat. First of all, we still need to move the car forward just a little bit. Why is that? Because, you see, the spot where the tire blew out is soft ground under the front axle, so later when we try to use the jack, it just won't work, right? So we need to move forward a bit. As for the tire that's on the car now, it's definitely done for. Let's also take a quick look at the equipment on the rescue vehicle. Wow, that's a lot of smoke. Actually, there's not much equipment, just an air pump powered by a single-cylinder diesel engine, plus some other tools. Mobile tire repair setups in our country are pretty much like this. Now, these next two tools are quite important. Without them, you can't get the job done. What are they? They're 2 pneumatic jacks. But the size of these jacks is a bit underwhelming. They look like they're only about 30 tons. Even 30 tons might be an overestimate. Compared to the jacks used by mobile tire repair services in our country, these are a bit lacking. Anyone here who drives big trucks will definitely know how big the jacks used for mobile tire repair are, and why they use 2 of them. It's because the lower tonnage jack is bigger, but its size isn't enough to fit directly under the front axle. You need to use one jack to lift it up a bit first, then put the other jack under the front axle. That way, the lifting height should be enough. Some of you might ask, so are these just the only 2 small jacks? What if their tonnage isn't enough and they can't lift a heavy vehicle? What should we do then? I think there might be jacks with a higher tonnage on the vehicle, but with just these 2 in front of us, do you think they can actually lift a heavy vehicle? Let me share my thoughts. So for a 4-axle front, 8-axle rear truck fully loaded, 100 tons is impossible, but carrying 50 or 60 tons is more realistic. But there's one thing I'm not clear about, and I wonder if anyone here knows, the pneumatic working part of these 2 jacks doesn't seem to match the jack itself. Were these modified or added on later? Does anyone here know the answer to this? After all that effort, the truck has finally been lifted successfully. Next, it's time to bring out another essential tool. What is it, you ask? An air impact wrench. You know, the one that goes with bang, 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 or bang, 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 bang. Wood. Don't laugh, everyone. My description is spot on. If you don't believe me, just listen. But why do I feel like the torque on these wheel nuts is a bit too low? Are they really this loose? This cover doesn't seem that big either. Aren't these bolts coming off a bit too easily? I remember when apprentices used to work on big trucks, you needed a really long breaker bar to loosen these bolts. I think the force from that breaker bar is definitely stronger than this cover. Alright, now let's turn off this air pump. This thing is really annoying. Next, we need to remove the steel plate and the tire from the truck, and then we can start changing the tire. By the way, did anyone here notice the brand of this truck? Hee hee, it's Cinetruck. Some of you might say, hey, in some Southeast Asian countries, when it comes to these big cargo trucks, they're usually Scania or Hino and the like, but that's actually not the case. Nowadays in Southeast Asian countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand, you can actually find Chinese cargo trucks, such as Cinetruck and FAW. They're not just present, they actually make up a significant share of the market. There is one thing I have never figured out, which is our country's technology for manufacturing passenger cars. Well, how should I put it? I won't say much about it. But when it comes to the technology for making cargo trucks, China is really on another level most countries just can't compare. Alright, let's get back to the video. One thing that really surprised me was how easy it is to take the tire off the rim. They just pry open the bead, then knock the tire against the ground using another rim, and just like that, the tire comes off. But there is one thing that feels quite different from how we do it in China. So, what's the difference? I'm sure everyone watching has noticed it too. The tire actually isn't tubeless. It's clearly got an inner tube. No wonder at the beginning of the video, we saw the tire was flat, but there were no obvious signs of damage or a blowout on the outer tire. Hey, shouldn't these heavy-duty trucks be using tubeless tires? Could it be that the export version for overseas markets is different from the ones we use in China? Of course, tubeless tires have their own advantages, and tires with inner tubes also have their benefits, right? For example, when it comes to removing the tire, if it's a tubeless one, well, that's a lot more difficult. But with an inner tube, you just need to take off the rim lock, and then you can take the tire out easily. That's the difference. But at this point, some of you might ask, hey, what are the advantages of tubeless tires? The benefit is, if the tire gets punctured by a nail, of course, it can't be too serious. If it's just a small nail or a slow leak, that's not a problem. It won't blow out. But for tires with inner tubes, it's a different story. If you get a puncture, it could easily result in a blowout. Alright, next, of course, is to reinstall the bead onto the rim, press the tire in properly, and then you can start inflating it. Honestly, this is definitely easier than dealing with a tubeless tire, but there's another thing to deal with. As you can see, the studs for the steel plates seem to be of different lengths. I reckon some of them probably broke during use, and the owner didn't bother to replace them, just made do like that. So, this tire change is a good opportunity to replace those studs as well. So, is there any good way to remove the studs? The answer is no. From what I remember, for this kind of stud replacement, there's actually a special pneumatic tool. You line it up, pump in the air, and it just pushes the stud right out. But obviously here, they just used a big hammer to knock it out, and then replaced it with a brand new stud. We don't really need to go into detail about this process. Next, they just hammer all the bolts back in and put the brake drum back on. After that, the tire can be reinstalled. Actually, to be more accurate, most of these mobile tire repair jobs are really just tire replacements, so you could call it mobile tire changing. It's actually quite rare to see them doing actual puncture repairs. If it's a tubeless tire, you might still be able to salvage it. Of course, that's only if the damage isn't too serious. But if it's a tire with an inner tube and it blows out, you basically have no choice but to replace the whole thing. Honestly, I have to give credit to the guy in the video. He handled the entire tire replacement process all by himself. You have to realize these truck tires are actually pretty heavy. Next up, of course, is tightening the steel plate bolts. Once again, we still have to rely on that single-cylinder diesel engine that fills the whole truck with black smoke as soon as it starts up. And of course, that did-a sound, wow, huh? Maybe some of you watching might be thinking of another detail. Didn't they set off with 2 brand new tires? So how come only one was changed? Well, actually, the other tire was also replaced. Even though it wasn't punctured or blown out, they still decided to change both tires at the same time. I have to say, they really have money to spare. If it were me, I wouldn't be willing to do that. You can all see this detail for yourselves. This tire, on the other side, clearly has an inner tube. Actually, this kind of setup is already quite rare on cargo vehicles in our country. It's not that it doesn't exist at all, there are still some, but tubeless tires are just much more common now. Alright, the tires have been changed, the vehicle can drive off, and that's the end of this video.